unit testing, and it will be done mostly in the new system. So this testing will be mostly done in the new systems. Whenever you are building a new system, when that time you are doing the application of path testing. Okay, in the ideologic bottom-up integration testing process. So in this integration, one component at a time. Okay, using the stuff from the low-level component testing interface, and then replace the stub by the real subordinate. So in this, what they are doing means integration of component testing is done by the low level components. Okay, but that is called the sub routines. Okay, in that it will be, what they will do, it will be reduce the your problem. Okay, it will be check the errors in the application. So it will be identify the stubs in that in the component. Okay, so in the reality, what is the integration process is associated block of components. A stub may be avoid need to think about the path inside the subordinate. So in the subroutine, so what they will do means integration testing is a it is a one block. Okay, it will be tested in the one block, and it will check the stubs. Okay, and it will be go with the subordinate routine. Okay, path by path it will be testing that to achieve that C1 or C2. Okay. So we are predicting the we are predicting the any request. Okay, we are predicting a one line, one component, how it is performing. It should be a like that only after testing that. So we will go with that thing. Okay. So in this we have the weakness of path testing. So in the weakness of path testing, application of path testing to the new code, and the application of path testing to maintenance, and application path testing to rehosting, and the process of path testing during the rehosting. So what is the process of path testing or rehosting? First, we are now look at now we are going with the integration coverage and the path. So now we will go with the application of path testing in the new code. So what you are doing in the application path testing in the new code, do the path testing is from C1 to C2 coverage. So from C1 to C2 we are covering the path. Okay. So using the procedure similar to the identified bottom-up integration testing. So in this we are going with the bottom-up. So down to up we are going to the integration testing. Okay. Okay. And the path blocks are not achievable full mean as a bug. So if the any path we are finding any kind of errors, if you are not going to the next path, then we will find the errors in the code. Okay. When the bug occurs, the path may be blocked. Whenever the bug occurs, the path will be blocked. Okay. If you are not reaching to the any next block, that time you have to think that in that block you have the bugs. Okay, so that's why you are stuck in that block. You are blocked in that bugs. So next we have the application path testing. In this application path testing is applied for the modify component. So in this path testing will be applied for the modify component. Whatever the modify component will be there, it will be applied into the maintenance path testing. Okay, using the procedure similar to the logic bottom-up integration. So in this also we are going with the bottom-up integration testing. So here also same we are following the same procedure of integration testing. Some bottom to up we are following it, but without using step. So here we are not using any kind of steps. So selecting the path to achieve the C2 over the changing the code. So we are selecting the path to achieve the C2. Okay, over the changing of code. So next we have the application of path of testing and rehosting. So in this rehosting, what you are doing means path testing is C1 to C2 coverage the powerful tools. Okay, from the rehosting old software. So we are using the tools in this rehosting old software. So in this software is rehosted as it no more cost effective to support the application environment. So in this we have what you are doing means software is rehosting to more costly effective to support the application environment. So user path testing is a conjunction with automatical and structural testing generation. So in this we are going with the in the user path testing. Okay, in this what you are doing means we are automatic and semi automation structural testing generate. We are generating the semi and automation structural testing. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Your screen is not visible. I think you are not sharing the screen.
Visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
So just now I have to explain about this one, guys. So we have these 4 things and the procedure of path testing. Testing from here till here we have it will be from application of path testing. We have 4 applications of path testing. Okay, this one is first application, and this one is next, and third and fourth, and the procedure of rehosting. Okay. So here we have completed our first unit, guys. So that's why I've given you the presentations. If you are having a problem in the presentation in that any topic, you can ask me and go with the presentation. So on tomorrow I will go with the presentation completely. I won't deal with any topic. So now we will go with the new. So once go with the PPT, guys. So now we are next unit is transaction flow. Okay, transaction flow graph and the data flow graph. In the next unit we are going with the transaction flow graph and the transaction flow testing. Okay, and the data flow testing. Okay, in the transaction flow testing we have the transaction flow and the transaction flow technique. Okay, testing techniques. Okay, in the data flow testing we have some kind of data flow testing and the domain testing and the testing. We have 4 things in this second unit. First we will go with the transaction flow. What is the transaction flow testing? We'll go with the thing and what is the transaction flow and what is the transaction flow testing techniques. Okay. Okay, once go with this, guys. Okay, shall I go with this thing or I go with the PPTs, guys? If you're having any problems, you can share with me, guys. So next we will go with the unit 2, that is transaction flow testing. So now we will go with the what is the transaction flow. Okay, transaction flow are the introducing as a representation of a system behavior. In the transaction flow, you will going with the behavior. Okay, we will going with the system behavior, or how the system is representing, how the system is behaving, at what node, at what stage, how the system is behaving. We are going with the transaction flow. Okay, here in the transaction flow, what you are doing means the techniques that are applied to the control flow graphs, whatever the techniques is applying for the control flow graph are used to control flow graph. Now they are applying to the functional testing. Okay, that whatever the techniques we have applying for the control flow graph, that same techniques are applied for the functional testing. Okay, control flow graph were introduced as a structure module. Okay, control flow graph, it will be introduced as a structure module, and the transaction flow graph introduced as a flow functional module. Okay, transaction flow graph introduced as a functional module. So in the transaction flow graph, what you are doing is to creating the behavior module of a program that leads to the functional testing. So in the transaction flow graph, you are creating a behavior module of your program that lead to a functional testing. So in the both transaction flow graph and the control flow graph is a powerful concept. Okay, it's using the tools based on the circles and the links. So previous we have seen about the path testings. We have what you are using in the circles, links we are using. Same like that we are using in the transaction flow graphs and the control flow graphs. Okay, so look at transaction flow graph is introduced as a functional module. Keep this mind, function module, and the control flow graph introduced as a structural module. Okay, transaction flow is nothing but it is representing a structural behavior. Okay, first transaction flow is nothing but a representation of function. Okay, our main topic is transaction. Transaction flow. Okay, first we will go with the transaction. What is actually transaction flow? Okay, transaction flow is nothing but a behavior. It will represent the behavior of your system. Okay, represent the behavior of your system. Okay, so it shows the behavior, how the flow of nodes. Okay, how the flow of your graph is, it will be represented as a transaction flow. So it will be show that transaction flow, and will be say that the how the system is acting and the what the steps they are performing. Okay, so it will be showing the transaction flow. It is called the transaction flow. So it will be say that the behavior of your system. Okay, behavior what actually steps are performing in the system. For example of the transaction flow, so in the transaction flow we have the techniques. Okay, that we are applying for the control flow graph. What the techniques we are applying for the control flow graphs, the same techniques is applying for the functional testing. Okay, functional testing. Okay, whatever the control flow graph is, whatever the techniques are we are using applying for the control flow graph, that same technique is applying for the functional testing. Okay, next the CFG, this control flow graph introduced as a structural model. It is introduced as a structural model. Okay, structural model. Okay, structural model. And the transaction flow graph, this graph introduced as a functional model. Okay, functional model. So the transaction flow graph is create the behavior model. This graph will be create the behavior model. Okay, whatever transaction flow graph, it will be create the behavior model of your system. Okay, behavior model of your system. So what the steps should be taken from one stage to another step, and how they are behaving in that stage, we are going with it will be the display in the transaction flow graph. It will be tested as a functional testing. Okay, and the both CF control flow graph and the transaction flow graph in this both are powerful. Okay, both are the concept tool based, and these tools what they are using in both the things, control flow graphs and the in the both the things what they are using means, in the both this control flow graph and the transaction flow graph, there is a powerful concept tools based on the tools. They having the same tools about the circles, okay, and the arrows. Okay, circles and the arrow. So are you clear with this? Transaction flow nothing but a only behavior of your, it will represent of your system behavior. Okay, so in the control flow graph, it will be whatever the rules, whatever techniques you are applying for the control flow graph, it will be the same thing will be applied for the functional testing. Okay, the control flow graph introducing as a structural model, and the transaction flow graph introduced as a functional model. Okay, CFG is introducing as a structural model, and transaction flow graph introducing as a functional model. Okay, in the transaction flow graph, to create a behavior model of program that lead to the functional testing. Okay, this will be lead to the functional testing. Okay, to perform the behavior of your model. Okay, in the both the functional control flow graph and the transaction flow graph, it will be going with the same tools. Okay, tools based on the nodes and the arrays. Okay, that is circular nodes represented by the cycles and the array represented by the lines. Okay, for example of your transaction flow graph, for example, you have to withdraw the amount from your ATM card. So what the steps you are performing, what the procedure you are performing? First we are going to the start. Okay, you are entering the card. Okay, next what you are doing, you are generating the pin. Okay, you are entering the pin. What you are doing after inserting the card, you will check the withdraw procedure. Okay, then after withdraw, you will go with the amount. Okay, next we will generate the pin and the withdraw process will be done. So this is the behavior of your ATM machine. Okay, this is the behavior of your ATM machine for withdrawing the amount. Okay, this is the behavior of your ATM machine of withdrawing the amount. This is a procedure. This is a procedure of your transaction flow. Okay, so one stage to another stage, it is performing the procedure. It will show the flow of things. So here what happening means, this operation are in the linear form. Okay, this is in the linear form and as well as sequence form. So this is the first stage output is the input of the another stage. Is there or not? the first stage or output is the input of another second stage, and the second stage input is the output of the third stage. So if you're clicking this button, if you're inserting the card, then only it is the input of the another stage, right? If you entered the card only, then you will go to the next stage. So it will be the second. This second stage is depend upon the previous stage, right? If the first stage will be pass the information into the insert the card. So after card insertion, it will be displayed to the. It will go to the next stage. Then only this page will be displayed over there, right? So displaying this page. So first you have to perform this operation. So this operation and this statement, the flow of behavior, it will be displayed in the. It will be shown in the transaction flow graph. Okay, so it will be showing the transaction flow. It is in the sequence as the linear form. So the first stage of your first stage input, it will be reflected to the second stage output. Okay, so every transaction having the two stage, okay, birth and the front. So every transaction having the two stage, starting stage and the ending stage. It is called, this stage, starting stage is called the birth stage, and this one is in this stage, and this stage is called the font stage, and this stage is called the font stage. So every transaction stage we have some kind of starting and the ending stage of your node. Okay, so this is the example of the transaction flow. Are you clear with this transaction flow graph? What actually we are representing? So look at this, guys. This is an example, okay, of transaction flow. Online information. Okay, so look at this things. What the task and steps is performing. Okay, accepting the inputs, validating input. So see the things. So updating, this is the procedure, this is the behavior of your system which will performing in the this online information, okay, retrieval system. The transaction flow graph introduces the representation of. So are you clear with the topic? What is the transaction flow graph? So in this, what you are doing means the functional testing or a behavior testing, how to behave every transaction occurs. Okay, so check that the flow of diagram is called the transaction flow diagram. Okay, so in the functional testing or behavior testing, okay, how the behavior will occurring, okay, how the system is behaving, the things we are going with the transaction testing. Okay, it will be shown the transaction flow diagram. Okay, checking the flow of diagram is called the transaction flow diagram. So you have seen this example, right? This example. So by seeing this example, this diagram, you can say that the flow of your system. Okay, you can say that the flow of your system, how the system is flowing. Okay, how the behavior is occurring on that stage. So if in this stage, if you are facing any kind of issues, so you can overcome with that. Okay, if the card is instructing but the machine is not reading your card, okay, that time you're facing the problem in this stage. So you have to overcome with this problem in this stage only. So to check this stage, check the behavior, so you have to go with the diagram. So by seeing this flow of the transaction flow diagram, so you can know that at what stage what things is happening, at what stage what the things is displaying. So we have to know in this second stage, it is not displaying only for the withdraw, it will be give the some other options in that page, like pin generation, bank balance check, and withdraw amount, and the deposit amount, so on. It was display in this page. So in this page we having the list of options. Okay, so you have to check, you have to select any one option. So with this option, the third procedure will be displayed. Okay, if you are going with the withdraw, it will be go with it next what the procedure should be there for withdraw, it will go with the page. If you are going with the pin generation, so in that same time it will go with the another page for the pin generation. Okay, it will go with the another page of pin generation. So this input is depend upon this output. Okay, the input is depend upon this output is depend upon the next input. Okay, if you are giving the input from here, so it will be depend upon the next stage. If what you are selecting in this page, it will be displayed, it will be affected on the next page. So by seeing this, how this behavior, how this system is performing, so it will be showing the transaction flow graph. Okay, so before going to know this diagram, you have to go with the okay. So before going this diagram, you have to keep in mind that we have the three things. Okay, demo, terminal, okay, control terminal, main CPU. Okay, this is an example of control flow graph, guys. Okay, so first thing you have to keep in a demo terminal. Okay, control terminal, and then main CPU. Okay, so at this thing, this diagram, all the demo terminal collect to control terminal. Whatever the demo terminal information will be, it will be collect to the control terminal. Okay, and all the information of control terminal are controlled by the main CPU. So this control terminal information will be controlled by the main CPU. Okay, two, and the CPU contains a set of informs, okay, which will be filled by the user, and this CPU will conduct a set of forms, okay, set of forms that filled by the user. Okay, that filled by the user. So in the CPU they will having the set of forms. Okay, this form will be filled by the users. Okay, to make order or any product. So these forms will be filled by the user to make the orders. Okay, to make the orders, to fill the orders. Okay, user fill the request product is forwarded. User will fill the request product, this product. If user the user is filling this form, your user is requesting any product, so that thing it is forwarded to the dummy terminal. Okay, and the dummy terminal, from the dummy terminal, it will control flow to the it will be go with the control flow. Okay, in the control flow, look at this D2. Here D2. So here it is the D2. So in this D2, so look at here D2 is there. In the D2, what you are doing means user is filling information. Okay, user is filling information over. For in this V2, it is going to the C. Okay, look at it. It is going to the C. In this C is nothing but the control for the table. Context of a table. It is a context of your table. So if user want to fill any extra information, okay, user want to add any kind of extra information, that time user can go with this thing. So it will be go with the C thing, and then it should be wait for some time, then it should be fill the information. Okay, it should be give the information, and it should be fill that information. Okay, and then it will be go to the, after that it will be go to the demo testing and the control, then go to the main CPU. In the main CPU, check whether it is a valid data or not. Is this main CPU will check that whether the data is valid or not. Okay, whether the data is valid or not, then they ask for the user whether any requirement is to change. So in the main CPU, it will be check that the data is the correct or not. Okay, then it will be ask to the user to any requirement, any changes are required in that form. So first once review that thing. So it will be go with the main CPU. Then this fill a message, this data is verified and the correct it is by given to the C. So this data, after verifying the data, it will go to the C, that it will be displayed the system. Okay, so this procedure is going, it will be gone. Okay, the data will verify and correct it to be going to the C. Okay, the data will be verified and it will go to the C. Okay, C. Okay, then it shows the behavior of your system. Okay, it shows the behavior of your system. This is the diagram of your behavior of system. Okay, are you clear with this topic, guys? Hello, hello, anyone is there or not? Anyone is there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I should go with the PPT, or like I should go with this only?
Your wish, ma'am.
Are you okay with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting the clarity what the actually thing, what the thing is there? Okay, once you go with that, this one documentation, then you will get the clarity of this topic. So this is the thing just now I have explained. Okay. Okay, till the time give me the attendance. Okay, go with the PPTs, guys. Sorry, documentation. Once read this documentation. If you have any kind of doubt, you can ask